and Trustee Sofia Peña. And now would you please welcome our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Renee. Mr. Rivera? Okay. And we'll have Mr. Rivera open it up. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mark, and thank everybody for being here. I know it's a hot one outside, so hopefully the AC's putting up with us today. But we got plenty of snacks and refreshments for you guys there. Okay, so let me do this so we can get the meeting going. All right. At a board workshop of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District will be held Monday, May 19th, 2025, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Professional Learning Center, Texas, our Texas Room, 1601 North 27th Street, McAllen, Texas, 78501. At this meeting, there may be discussion by the board on items and subjects listed as follows. Item number 1, call the meeting to order. I have done so at 5:38 p.m. Public comments. I believe we do not have public comments today. Item number 3, Facilities Forecast Advisory Committee. And we have a welcome by Dr. Rene Gutierrez, our superintendent.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here to our second meeting of our Facilities Forecast Advisory Committee. Just to recap what we talked about in our first meeting, for some of you that were not here, what we talked about in our first meeting was our tax rate for McAllen ISD. We talked about how our tax rate is one of the lowest tax rates in South Texas, and we did a comparison with most of the districts from South Texas, and McAllen ISD tax rate is at 99 cents, which is one of the lowest in the area. And so we want to maintain our tax rate at that level. And so we talked about that rate at 99 cents. 83 cents is in the maintenance and operations, and the other 16 cents is on the INS interest and sinking funds. And those 16 cents that we utilize is to pay bonds. And so we talked about that we are going to be paying some current debt that we have very soon. And so we're going to be able to free up those 16 cents so that perhaps we can consider a bond with those 16 cents without raising taxes. And Estrada Hinojosa, our financial consultants, talked to us about that we qualify for about $290 million bond. And without raising the taxes, that is maintaining the same tax rate at 99 cents, okay? So that was kind of like an overview of our finances, our tax rate. MGT gave an overview of the facility study that they're doing for the school district, and they will be presenting for most of this meeting about their facility study and what they're going to be doing for McAllen ISD. Along the way with this committee, we are going to be visiting some of our campuses and our departments, as well as with this group, with the report that we're going to get from MGT, so that we can come up with a priority list of things that we need to do for McAllen ISD, and perhaps in the near future talk about then going out for the bond for $290 million, maintain the same tax rate, get the priority list of the things that we dire need in our district, the facilities that we need to improve on, and come up with that list. So, and this is the purpose of this committee, is about coming up with a priority list about the things that we need to do in our district when it comes to facilities, and utilizing and maximizing the $290 million bond. Okay, so we talked about that, and we're going to continue discussing that throughout all these meetings that we're going to have. We also talked about House Bill 19, which is something that may impact the elections of the bond. We may be having to go for the bond in this November of 2025 if House Bill 19 passes, or if it goes through legislation. And Dr. De Los Santos, at the end of the meeting, will give us a brief overview where we are with House Bill 19 and give you an update on that, because that's going to determine whether we go for a November election of 2025 or we can go for May of 2026, and gives us a little bit of more time to be able to evaluate, analyze facilities a lot better with ourselves, with MGT and our principals and everyone, and be able to have a very thorough, comprehensive plan that we can come up with before we call on a bond, and the board considers that bond in the near future. Okay? So that's an overview of our first meeting. Today's meeting is MGT. Ms. Sparks is here to give us an overview of what they are going to be doing specifically with our district as our facilities consultants and doing the study with us along the way. And then after that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Los Santos to give us that update on House Bill 19. So at this time, please help me welcome Ms. Sparks from MGT.
I will give this one to you for the secondary. Hi, everyone. Hi. Oops. Enter. Oh, go ahead. Hi, everyone. I'm Narissa Sparks with MGT, and of course, we met virtually, but here I am in person. Tonight's meeting, the goal of tonight's meeting is more of a listening session. I'm going to briefly go over what we're going to be doing during the assessments, what we're looking at, and what we're looking for, excuse me. And then we will go through and collect information from the committees on the vertical teams by those teams. Full disclosure, I'm going to be recording a transcript so that way I can organize notes later of everything that is said within this meeting. I am here today also with Half Engineering is here, our subcontractor. They are going to be conducting the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, MEP, assessments for us. They have, extensive experience with McAllen, and we're excited to be able to tap into their experience and their knowledge for this. But the goal of this first meeting is for us to gain knowledge of the key issues that are going on in your schools. We want to know, preliminarily, what is important to this community. The items we're assessing, we're doing our assessments, there's 4 parts to this. We are looking at the building condition itself, the condition of the age of the systems, major projects, repairs that are needed. We're also looking at the learning environment or the educational suitability. And that is the functionality and how the building supports the educational programming. We're then looking at the grounds and infrastructure condition. So, that is athletics, that is the grounds, the landscaping, irrigation, parking lots, playgrounds, and the technology readiness. Do you have everything in place to support 21st century technology? Now, as we work through the discussions tonight, what we are looking for in these discussions, we're looking for holistic information. So when we're talking about building condition, what we're seeking from the community is not just work order items like, there's touch-up paint here, or there's a broken faucet there, as examples. We're looking for the whole school hasn't been painted. We need to, paint, refresh. We're looking for there's been ongoing plumbing issues. We're looking at more of a larger scale. And also for the functionality portion or the educational suitability, we're looking at do the classrooms that are dedicated to CTE programming, do they have what they need? Do they have the electrical power to support the technology needed? Do they have, for performing arts, we're looking for, do they have a stage? Do they have the proper storage and the proper band rooms? And as we worked with the district prior to this, we built an educational suitability guide, which we discussed a little bit last time. And I know one of the important items was, do you have a place for the mariachi groups to practice, aside from orchestra? So those are the types of things we're looking for, not the broken window thing, but the whole big picture. And this is the part where we how do I say this? Where we want to hear what your open and honest thoughts are at this point. I know that there's going to be the next portion after we do our assessments and gather a list of conditions. There's going to be a portion where you are walking through your schools. So I know more will come from that, but I want to hear your feelings now. What has been on your mind? What has brought you to this meeting and what has brought you to this committee? And then I'm going to do, the way we're going to organize the information, I'm going to go by vertical teams. So we'll start with, I believe, McAllen High School. And we'll start with elementary schools, and then we'll go to middle, and that way I can collect the information in an organized manner. And what we want to hear is, like, what areas of your school are most in need of improvement? And that, again, is the conditions. Is it functional? Do you have proper playgrounds, proper fall surfaces? Can the infrastructure support 21st century technology needs? And what concerns you have about safety, safety and functionality? And what would you change if you could? Let's just say that we got the $1 billion bond. What's the grand, not only are what the things we can do, but what's the vision? I know with the amount of bond that we're able to go out for, I know there's going to be, you know, a selection of we're going to have to prioritize those projects. But in the big picture, in the long run, what's your vision? And also, we'd also like to know, what are you proud of in the school that's there? What is important to you that's existing? You know, it could be the stadium. It could be, you know, just what's on your mind. What are you proud of in your schools? So let me turn on the recording, and this is a part where we will go and interact, and I'll take notes, and we can start discussing the things you want to tell us. So 1 second. So first, and again, you know, this is me listening to you. So first we're going to start with the McAllen High School vertical team, but I would like to start with elementary schools. We'll start smaller and build up. So for the, say, Morris Middle School group, Milam Elementary School, is there any comments or things that are important to you or we should know? Yes, sir.
General question, probably for our leadership team here, school leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Is our goal here to just put a bunch of Band-Aids on everything, or are we trying to do big ticket items? Because I know the community, the people I've talked to want to know what's the goal of this. What are we trying to do? Are we just...
We are trying to address, we don't want to put Band-Aids. Now, how I would usually plan projects, personally, how I've worked with districts, my idea is to first you deal with your infrastructure, and then you deal with your building envelope, and then you start working on the inside. You work inward. But with the amount of items that we're going to be doing here, we're going to have to prioritize that. We want to take care of the infrastructure, but we also want to build up our programming. We want to build up the CTE programming. We want to build up performing arts. We want to build up, we want to know what is important to you to build up so we can plan those projects too. This isn't just going to be, you know, put a roof here and that there. This is going to be, do we, what can we downsize and what can we grow out of it? Does that make sense?
What I ask is if people are gonna wanna see something for $280 million.
Absolutely, and that's a discussion we actually had this morning.
It has to be strategic what we're doing, it's not just.
Oh, 100%. Agree with you, yes. Like we were discussing, would you like to speak?
Yes, we're looking at right now like an overview, and I have a campus administration here as well as central office administration and community members. But we're looking at some of the bigger items that we know that we need to make sure that as they're doing the study out there, and when we go out there to make those visits, we're going to identify some critical areas. And this is just for us to start getting some ideas from the group, from what you all know from this. Let me start with this vertical team, from Morris, Travis, and Mackay. Some big items that we know that we need to do something about as far as fixing. And you know that everybody here knows, for example, that Morris, what is the biggest issue with Morris? What is it? Capacity in classrooms, right? So I think everybody knows that. Those are the things that we need to start having this open discussion with everyone in this group. Because the next time that we're going to meet, then we're going to break down the group into three vertical teams so that we can make those visits. But as they go out there, they need to also see some of the concerns or some of the things that this group is going to bring about.
Would it be easier for us to hear maybe from the administrators that are here or what their needs are? Would it be easier maybe for us to hear from the administrators from each of those schools to see what their needs are and then kind of go from there?
We will be speaking to the administrators. The way we do the assessments, we go in a team of two. One of us will be walking the building and looking at the physical conditions, while the other person speaks with the school administrator and talks about their concerns and also the functionality of the building. Does it work? So we will be speaking with them as we walk through.
But I would agree with him because I'm a community member. But
Yes.
I would like to personally hear the pulse of what the principals and campus administrators are, what they're like.
Okay.
I know some of the problems that I didn't know about Morris. So, as an example, to get a jump start, like I asked right now, I said, if we're gunning for a bond in November of 2025, which that's the objective. 1, 2, we got 4 months to put this thing together, package it.
Correct.
sell it. Without having an idea what Morris needs,
Yeah.
I don't have a clue. So I like.
I think that's a good idea to do that, because I have Ms. Friedland from Mackay, and then I also have Mr. Trevino. Then we have also some of the directors here. So let me go ahead and have them open up, because they can also educate all of us. Because I know Mackay, but I don't know Mackay as well as Ms. Friedland knows. I know Morris, but I don't know Morris as well as Ms. Bechtel knows that, and so on. So let me go ahead and open up with the administration, and then Mr. Trevino, who's our facilities executive director for facilities, of course, sees this every day too, and he gets the calls for the major areas that he can also talk to us about. And then we have fine arts, athletics, and other administration here. So let me go ahead and start with Ms. Friedland, if you don't mind. We're talking about this vertical team, because every vertical team is going to have different needs and assessments. But hearing from administration for the rest of the community members from our departments, it's a good start. And also
Yes.
for MGT is a good start also, because I know you're going to do the walkthroughs with the campus principals, but I think it's a good thing for all of us to hear what the principals at those specific campuses that know more about it can tell the group, and what to look for when it's our turn to go visit. So let me go ahead and start with Ms. Friedland, and then Felicia, then we'll just pass the microphone around. No taking, because they're going to make some walkthroughs. We're going to make some walkthroughs. But let's get this started, because now we're going to start getting to the struggles of what we need and what we're going to do. And this is part of those discussions.
And to build a holistic plan, we need to know what is important to this community. I can look at a building all day long, but I'm not going to know that, the stadium at McAllen, I can see it needs new locker rooms, but to find out the importance of that over a CTE building. This is where we hear from you. But go ahead, sorry.
So I know you said you wanted to start with Milam first. So I was actually the principal at Milam last year, so I can
Okay.
speak to that a little bit. And if anybody wants to join in, I know Ms. Morris here as well, and Robert Carrion, he's also a parent there. But Milam is a very large school, population-wise, and the parking has always been a really big issue, so an additional parking lot would be very beneficial. The size of the library and the cafeteria are also very small in comparison to the amount of students that are serviced there. So I would put those three things at the top of the list for sure. Well, definitely AC, there's AC problems and so forth. But those are the three main things. Oh, I want to add, they do have quite a bit of portables as well. So, I mean, another addition would be great. So that's Milam, yes, sir. Ms. Moore, do you have any other things you would think on that one? Okay.
The portables are a big concern after the tragedy in Uvalde. I know we had NISD police come and talk to us via the town hall, but that was a reoccurring issue with a lot of parents was the kids have to take a key to get into the building to use the restroom, and the partner goes back to with the key. What if a child gets stuck in between without a key? Where would they go? Because they're not supposed to open the doors for a knock on the door because we don't know who it is. We don't know who's hiding behind them. So that was a reoccurring concern with parents.
Okay.
I know this morning, the teachers walked in and the SPED students had a hard time getting to their classroom because there was tiles that had fallen down right in front of their classroom. That was a leak. Not sure if that's ongoing, if that's been an issue, but that is, there's a lot of aging parts of the school, and capacity seems to be a really big issue, not only with the portables, but inside the building. I believe it was a year or two ago we lost our computer lab, and I believe that's being utilized as a pre-K classroom.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, I'm just a parent, but it is, we've had some growing pains, and I've only been there 4 years, but even since being there, it seems to be every year it gets a little tighter, a little tighter.
So I've got a question. So on the portables, how many portables would you say you have there?
All of the grades are portables, and I think there's
2, 5,
maybe 6.
Probably about 10 rooms.
6 portables. Now, follow-up question. Milam, you mentioned growth. Are we growing towards Milam, or do we intend to shift students in the future?
No, that's something that we can discuss later because that's something that has to do with zoning and open enrollment. And it's mainly an open enrollment thing because we don't want to lose kids, to other districts. We try to give parents choice of which school they want in McAllen ISD, but that's not part of this group. What it is here is what we were just talking about, the Milam, the McAllen, the Morris, those AC units or
Right.
portables and perhaps.
So globally, I heard parking, library, small library, mechanical issues, maintenance, that's a whole other color, paint, and portables, 6 portables.
And just be advised that a lot of these are going to be duplicates because they're the same columns in all. the
Yes.
campuses.
Sure.
So just know that we're addressing Milam, but you're gonna say, well, we have that over there too, and over there, and over there.
Okay.
So if you look at HVACs, like, or you look at parking, and you look at portables, it's not just gonna be a Milam. I think you can identify some of the schools already with those kinds of things there.
But this helps
Yes.
us, helps.
What you look for.
Yes.
What you look for.
Globally.
I
Like,
w-
she says, I want a full, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are the ticket items that we see very common. You're gonna see a very commonality among all or on some campuses as to what they need, the big issues. Is there anything else, Ms. Friedland, that you wanted to say? Because, yeah, I know. She talked about Milam because she's been to Milam, so she's a good source.
So Milam and Mackay are, pretty much the same age. They were built around the same time. So Mackay, I know she'd already mentioned space for mariachi. So Mackay has one of the biggest auditoriums down here. So our auditorium's used for a lot of things, which is wonderful. We enjoy hosting a lot of events at Mackay, but it does make it difficult for some of our fine arts groups to have the proper practice that maybe other places might be able to have, because they're having to share that space. So not only do we share it with mariachi and band and choir and orchestra, theater arts, we also share it with the region. We share it with all of our feeder schools. And so we have really top-notch fine arts programs at Mac High. I'm very proud to say that. So it's really difficult sometimes to get all of that practice in that they all are fighting for, respectfully, of course. But so that's definitely an issue that we have, is space for that type of practice. We definitely, if you've gone into the locker rooms, those also need to be remodeled. And for health reasons, it's imperative that those are also remodeled. We are having electrical issues with breakers that are always, flipping daily, so we're having to fix them, and that impacts instruction because it impacts the internet. And so we have dual classes happening at our campus. So if they're in a test, it can impact classes that are at college and so forth. So that electrical is real important, that it's working properly. I'm going to also reiterate, in addition to remove portables, we also have a lot of portables on our campus, so that would be nice. Bathroom updates for students and staff. So our staff, we have about 280 staff members there, and we probably have 2, 4, maybe 6 bathrooms on campus, on the main campus for our staff. 6 for 280 staff members. Also, bathroom updates for the students would be helpful. I'm thinking maybe just maybe a different design. I've been really thinking about that lately. Some other things that would be nice: a covered walkway for our weather days. I mean, our kids are walking back and forth across street to get to our CT building. We're in need of some additional desks, chairs. Technology, of course, we want all of our classrooms, at the same level with the Promethean boards. More badge readers. I'm thankful for technology for getting us more badge readers, but we have so many entrances and exits in our building. We need to be able to use our badges to get in there. And covered eating outside. Again, those maybe aren't like highest on the priority, but I have some additional things. But those would probably be the highest priority. And then, of course, I said electrical, right? Oh, plumbing, I'm sorry. When we had that rain the other day, it was coming up through the drains, and so we need the plumbing fixed.
Sometimes that backflow is not so much our plumbing, is the city's plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what causes the flood. So, but that's something we can analyze. That's why we have here, because they're going to do the mechanical engineering and plumbing. Mm-hmm. We'll continue with input. If we can leave the comments at the end in the essence of time. So we'll just now go ahead and get other input from other campuses that are up here from the vertical team. I know I see Ms. Delgado here from Perez. Is there anything you want to add to, even though Perez Elementary is one of the newer schools, there may be some needs that not only apply to Perez, but also can apply to Tippin, Zavala, Wilson, and Fields, and the other campuses.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Veronica Delgado, the principal at Perez Elementary. While it's true we have a beautiful campus, fairly new, we are very fortunate and blessed to have a wonderful facility for our students. There are some, mainly we have no outdoor covered gymnasium, enclosed space for our kids. Anytime it's raining or it's really cold, we do have a cafetorium, so we have a cafeteria/gymnasium. However, during the lunch period, there's a big portion of time in the middle of the day where the kids are in the cafeteria eating lunch. And on rainy days or inclement weather, our kids have to be in classrooms for PE and for recess sometimes. We are very limited in the amount of space that we have, the amount of land that we have around our school, but we need an enclosed area. That could come from partitions in the cafetorium to actually designate the specific area for a gym and for the cafeteria. That would suffice to solve that problem. An enclosed gym outside could be another resolution for that. We do have also a playground refresh that we really need. We only have one area for the kids to play, and that is up for a refresh already. Parts of the playground are no longer accessible to the children, and of course, we do need areas for them to interact outside. We also have we have one self-contained life skills classroom with 1st through 5th grade. We really do need a restroom in that classroom because we do have a large number of students that are constantly needing to, go into the restroom areas, and the restroom areas, while they're perfect for the number of students we have, when you have a classroom of 20 students that are in a life skills classroom, coming out to use the facilities, it's just for privacy, for things like that. I think they really do need a facility within their own classroom. I think those are the main things. Parking, we're at about 600 kids right now. We truly are at capacity at Perez Elementary, and we love it. It's a wonderful problem to have, but the parking has been a concern, and so an additional parking would be great.
I would also like to add that we are doing a capacity and utilization study too as part of this.
So one thing that it came up, because I know that I've been visiting schools, is elementaries, is gymnasiums, covered gymnasiums. Some schools don't have it, so something that came up that we need to keep in mind as a group is gymnasiums, covered gymnasiums for all elementary schools, because not all elementary schools have covered gymnasiums. We talked about parking, just like so parking is an issue there, and perhaps restrooms for the special needs kids, and as well as at McAllen. Remember, McAllen is the oldest high school, 61 years old now. So those are the things we're going to keep in mind and look for as we go and make our visits. One last one from this vertical team, I have Ms. from Zavala. Anything on the Zavala on the south side of McAllen, anything you want to add? Because it may apply to the other schools as well. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Marisela Chapa, the principal at Zavala, and we too have a beautiful campus. It's one of the newer campuses, and I mean, it's just gorgeous. If you don't know where it is, come visit us. It's a real gem right in the center of McAllen. But either way, one of the things that we do experience is flooding. So our gym, we noticed that on the east side of the gym, there is very limited drainage. So the minute it rains, it starts to seep into the building itself. So when these storms come by with heavy rains, I mean, it's a given that it's going to flood. So that's one of the things. Of course, parking, as we mentioned. When the school was built, they did leave a cafeteria, the old cafeteria from the previous campus, and it's used for storage, but it does take quite a bit of land, and so it'd be nice if they got rid of it so that we can include more parking. It is very limited parking, so whenever we have any kind of events, it's barely enough parking for the staff. We really don't have much for the community, so they're all parking around the perimeter and in other properties that don't belong to MISD. That's one of the other things. And then as a result of just different storms, we've lost walkways also, so those need to be redone. When it rains, the kids are going to get wet if we send them outside. So often we're having to just move the PE inside to the building because they can't get out there without getting soaked. So some of those walkways do need to be replaced. And I would say, in addition to that, we did lose our marquee. And although we can get a marquee, the wiring is outdated. So the reason we're not getting a marquee is because there is funding for the marquee, but not the wiring. It's just super expensive. So those are things that would be very beneficial to all of us.
Marquee, and the other thing that I'm here is the covered walkways because of inclement weather, to make sure we have covered walkways. For example, Zavala has a covered gymnasium, which is older, but Perez doesn't have a covered gymnasium, or Sanchez doesn't have one. So those are the things we're going to evaluate, but covered walkways, gymnasiums, parking. It might be also considered to demolish some of our buildings that are taking space, that we could use that space for more parking or other other things that we can do, or walkways or things like that. So something that
Yes.
we can also keep in mind if there's some buildings that may not be utilized, because I know the one at Tip and Zavala, it's on the way. Yeah, okay, so we'll look into that as part of the visits and as part of the study. Then, can we move on to the next vertical team?
Okay,
Because
do we
I
not
think,
have anyone from, which is fine, because we will be
Yeah.
looking at all of these things as well.
because I think it's gonna, the things are gonna come up, the
Yeah.
same concerns are gonna start coming up as we move on. The
We-
memorial vertical team, I know that I have Mr. Pete Alvarez. You would like to start and open up the needs in Memorial and perhaps any other schools that you've been there or you've been an administrator?
I would also like to add that when we're looking at this too, we're looking at facility equity. We're looking at, we want to see our schools to have equal facilities. That way, that helps solve the problem of capacity, because they're not trying to get to one school because they have something that the other does not. So that's a way of addressing capacity, but go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that even though we're saying all the negatives, I do want to say Ruben does a great job to try to keep us afloat. FMO does a great job at doing that. We do have roof leaks, a lot of roof leaks all over the place. On the last rain, of course, we had a lot of roof leaks all over the mariachi and band areas. Is pretty bad. Our plumbing, we continue to have plumbing issues. Even this morning in the lounge, which you only have for staff, we only have one lounge and a half a room for a lounge. So the teachers really don't have space to go anywhere. We had to convert a classroom for subs so that the subs can go there so that the teachers can have lunch in 1.5 lounges. We have a lack of space. The building was built a long time ago when some of the classrooms in the center of the building are not adequate. There's not an adequate space to have full classrooms in there. We can only put like 12 to 20 people max in that classroom, in those classrooms. So we're talking about 8 to 10 rooms in the center of the building. This is very small. AC and electrical issues. A lot of the electrical is outdated. If I've been able to look up there, and you can see wires from every era. I mean, there's wiring all over the place. If you see that, you'll be just completely surprised. But because of the roof leaks and all these issues, we do have rodent problems. We do have pests that come into the building because we just can't keep up. We can't keep up with all the building is a brutalist building, right? It's just hard cement. So if something opens up, I mean, it just, every animal and critter you can think of comes into the building. And so we're currently battling, I mean, every year we're battling bugs and rodents and you name it. So that's critical, and I'm sure you've heard that or seen it on Twitter or somewhere. Parking, our parking is, even though we have parking, the safety to get from the parking to the building is not, it's not the safest. Our drop-off area was built back in, 30, 40 years ago, and you can't fit many cars in there. So our wait area, it puts people at jeopardy out on the street on Hackberry, and you got kids running out in the street trying to get into their cars, parents getting upset. It's not uncommon for parents to have road rage, and I don't blame them, because they just don't have a place to go or park. That's critical. Our restrooms for our students are small, even though we have some restrooms. They're pretty small. Like if in a passing period of 2,000 kids, you can't get 10 kids in there, without it being crowded, and we'll have other issues happen with that when kids can't get to the restrooms because it's full, and they go from one restroom to the next restroom to the next restroom trying to get use of the restrooms. Street flooding. If you notice, Memorial's built on the front of it is flat to the street, but as you go back, it's about 5 feet off the ground. And so if it rains at all, the whole street floods. The parking lots flood. You can't get to the portables. You can't get to CT. That whole street floods. And the drainage, I mean, it just doesn't keep up with all the water that's coming through there.
Some of these issues we have to work with the city because the floods, a lot of it has to do with how the city is draining the water. So some of these issues that are not McAllen ISD issues, but those are things that we can work with the city to drain the water out from the schools so that we can prevent the flooding. So just know that flooding sometimes may not be our
We are close to the canal, and the last time that we had that flood, and I mean, it was up there, and my fear was that it would breach and if it breaches, then we get flooded. Like, we'll be flooded. We'll be flooded. All that. It's a lake. It'll be a lake there. Our mariachi, of course, the whole mariachi group who placed 5th last year in state, or this year in state, they are in a band practice room. They're in a band practice room, and I mean, I got great kids in there. Some of them winning state medals. So they're in a very small area. We have to move them during class to go to the band hall, and then the band hall has to be displaced, and everybody's being displaced just to do one thing. Fine arts. Fine arts, I mean, they really need a space to perform. Our auditorium, even though we can fit people in it, it's split into 3 to be classrooms. So if those classrooms are being used, you just can't have any assemblies. There's no way you can fit kids and parents at the same time to do assemblies in there. So we always have to do one or the other. It's either kids, no parents, and I get a lot of complaints. They say, why can't we just bring all the parents in? And we're like, well, we moved to the gym to do those kind of events, but it's just not, it's not big enough to really have the capacity you need to get everybody in there. The whole building is has makeshift walls and a patchwork of former classrooms. So you have walls built in areas that used to be classrooms that no longer serve purpose, and those walls are still up. And if you want to see paneling again, you can come over because they're still there. I mean, it just doesn't make sense there. I guess at some point they thought it would make sense to put these walls in these classrooms, but it doesn't work anymore. Our locker rooms also need remodeling. Once again, all our locker rooms got flooded, and every time it rains in there. All our kids' equipment, everything gets drenched. It stinks, and then from there, of course, you have mold and all those kind of things that start happening. Staff bathrooms. We also have about 280 staff members in the building. We only have 4 restrooms, and I'm not talking about stalls over stalls. We're just talking about 2 toilets maybe and 2 urinals for the men, and then just 1 toilet for the women. So now that the teachers only have like a certain amount of time to go in there, I mean, they're scrambling to go to the restroom. It's not uncommon for restrooms being used by staff that other people are rushing to another restroom, which is in another part of the building, just to use restrooms, and that's 4 restrooms for all those teachers. In the CT building, we do have 1 restroom there for all the teachers in the CT building outside. So you can imagine trying to figure out how do we get there and use 1 toilet for each, for men and women. We also have our football stadium there and soccer field and all that, but we have not had a press box ever there. We have a deer blind there, and we hold all the field events, and we hold all the soccer events for middle schools and elementary, you name it, we have it there. We have no sound system, so we just sign language the whole time, I guess. I don't even know how we do it, but that's a real concern. And there's just some of the things that we're dealing with.
Thank you.
We do have the press box, I think, as part of our budget to do that, to change that deer blind, because I think it was back when I was a freshman there. So one of the things that he didn't mention that we are going to talk more about it, and as you visit the schools, you're going to notice that we need a better entrance for some of our schools, and Memorial is one of those high schools that needs a better entrance, a better facade than a side door that was opened up because we had to open it up because of all the safety and security. So I know that if you would add to your list, and also to your list, Ms. Sparks, is that a better design on entrances on some of our schools, because they lack adequate entrances, because we had to put a door overnight because of what happened in Uvalde. So Memorial needs one of those. Mr. Alanis, I know you're going to talk about that when it's your turn with your vertical team, because De Leon is also one of those schools that doesn't have an entrance. They just put a side door to have everybody go through there, but it lacks an entrance. So, okay, that was Memorial, but I know that if we talk to Gonzalez, you know what we're going to hear about Gonzalez, what we heard already about Milam, right? What is that? Portables. But is there any dire need of big ticket besides the portables to put permanent classrooms? And then, of course, what you've heard is also restrooms, make more space for restrooms. Roofs, remember, a lot of the problems that he talked about is because we have bad roofs that we need to replace. So roofing is big on that vertical team. But besides portables and having permanent classrooms, what else is big in Gonzalez? And Gonzalez is also it was built back in 1990, I believe. 91. Well, I was off by 1 year.
Right. You know. So yes, we're Portable City. We have 17 classrooms. So I think we lead we're the leader of the crowd. We are larger than 4 or 5, I think, of the middle schools. We have our enrollment is 815 to fit into a school that was built for 600. So that's why we have all the portables outside. I will say we have a great community. We have great parents who have constructed and built and paid for 2 beautiful playscapes for the children. We have covered areas, but all that was done by parents. And a lot of parents, I see a lot of parents sitting here. I think Aaron Rivera, you were in a portable at one time. Yes, he was, so he remembers. Our clinic, we have a very small clinic, you know, and we have a lot of patients. Our kids come to the clinic all the time. They love to come see our nurse. We only have 2 bathrooms, 2 for a staff of almost 90. Okay? Yes.
Yep.
You know, there was no vision when the school was built. I promise you there was no vision because nobody thought that this school was going to triple in size in 2 years. The first year, we started out with 300 kids, but I told them we're going to have twice that number. And sure enough, the following year, they all came. So restrooms, parking, parking, we need parking. Our library is really small. Our sidewalks are very narrow. So when you have kids coming out of the portables to go to the gym and kids coming from the building going the opposite way, they're bumping into each other. Covered walkways. Let's see, bathrooms, parking, library, clinic. Our gym, our gym really is kind of small. When you look at the number of kids we have compared to gyms at some of these schools that have maybe 300 to 400, their gyms are huge compared to ours. You'll find that, you'll go visit, you'll see, ours is small. The stage, we talk fine arts. We also have fine arts at elementary. And we have programs every month, right, Ms. Wallace? We're getting ready for another one. But the stage, the kids have to perform off the stage because the way it was built does not help our kids. So, but you know what? It's a great school. So,
okay,
Thank you very
so
much.
when we tour those schools like Gonzalez is looking at the stage of those, the setup, gymnasiums, and restrooms keeps coming up. I'm not an architect, but I know a little bit about construction. But I think some of these restrooms, those of you that know construction, they may have to be add-ons, because you can't really put a restroom in a wing because of the plumbing. How do you get the plumbing there? You have to be. I think the most feasible way to do it is you add on restrooms to the side of the building. But that's just my thought on that. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Garcia, before we move on to the next vertical team, in the essence of time, let me have from Brown Middle School, anything on Brown. And Brown was built in 1980. I do know it was in 1980 because I saw the plaque.
Correct. And again, I do want to say that my janitors do a great job maintaining that building. So this is no a disservice to all the great work they're doing. One of the things, again, plumbing. As you know, sometimes we walk into Brown. I know there's a smell that keeps occurring. I know we've done all different types of assessments to figure out what's going on, but again, that smell is still happening. You talked about entrance design, same thing. I know when we hold large events, it's a safety hazard when you have all these parents trying to check in, and our lobby doesn't accommodate all those parents that are trying to fit in. A canopy in the front, as far as for kids that are waiting to get picked up, on those hot days, they're just sitting out there. something to make sure that they can wait for their parents. Life skills, our life skills is increasing, and those life skills rooms are just below standard in regards to what they need to do with those kids. And you walk in there and it's just, they do an amazing job with that space. Also just updating the rooms. We want those rooms to be ready for the kids, and they can barely hold 25 kids in there, and then we try to stuff 28, 29 kids, and it's not working. But again, a lot of the stuff that has been said goes for Brown as well.
Has there been thought given to like the nurses area or therapy areas, just because it seems like that's become more of a thing in the last couple of years? Is that something that you all look at now in school construction? Okay.
Absolutely. That's part of our educational adequacy. We do look at restrooms. Do we have enough? The size of them. We look at, do we have a clinic? Does it fit, for elementary, does it fit 2 students, have refrigeration, a dedicated restroom? So we go through all of those functionality parts. But yes, the short answer is yes, we do look at clinics.
All right. Can we go to the next vertical team?
Oh, yes.
Nikki Rowe. I know that Nikki Rowe, it's also one of those that needs a better entrance that we have, that we need to design a better entrance, because you go through kind of like a courtyard before you get to the front door. We're looking at perhaps covering that courtyard, making it really nice, and fix it up with air conditioner, doors, glass doors, and everything, and make it a nice entrance than having to go through a side office and then go through across the courtyard to the entrance. But Ruben, I know Mr. Gutierrez is not here. Is there anything that is, where is Mr. Gutierrez? Oh, Mr. Gutierrez. I didn't see you, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Alfredo Gutierrez, principal at James Nicky Rowe High School. And again, I'm blessed because of the 3 comprehensive high schools. Nicky Rowe is the newest of the high schools. I believe it was built in 1990. So it's the newest, but it's, 35 years old. But that's the newest. So I'm blessed in the facilities that we have, but we could use some improvements as well. I think the biggest areas of improvement are in our fine arts, our mariachi, award-winning mariachi. They compete at the state level as well. And they have to share the space with the orchestra. So a dedicated space for our mariachi students. Another one that it pains me is our marching band. And I think this is the same for all 3 of the high schools. Our marching band practices in the parking lot, our teacher parking lot. And they start practicing in July in South Texas in McAllen. And what I envision when our kids are on that pavement in July is that they're in a skillet and we're cooking kids or something, because it's ungodly hot in July, August. They turn a different shade. By the time I see them in August, those kids are a different shade. They might work harder than the football team. They practice so much out there in pavement. And then when school starts, they share that space with teachers, because that's the teacher parking lot. So we have some dedicated teachers that stay till 5:30, 6 o'clock, and the messages start coming in from the band directors because they want to practice, but our teachers need to work after school to get ready for the next day. So a dedicated space for our marching band, which we're trying to do one project at a time. There is a space on the east side of the campus, some green space there, but it didn't have irrigation. So Ruben and his team finally got a sprinkler system there, but right now the problem is it's not level. It needs to be leveled. The ideal, if we have $1 billion bond, is like a turfed area with lines on it dedicated for the band, because they put in a lot of hours of practice time. So we also have paving issues. So it's 35 years old. So our student parking lot, our teacher parking lot, sometimes it's not safe to walk because, and Ruben tries to do a good job at filling in potholes, but once it rains, all that stuff gets washed away. Our back entrance, what we call the horseshoe, it's a mess. It's just potholes and bumps all over the place there. Consistent Wi-Fi connectivity, speaking of technology and 21st century, it's spotty. When we survey our teachers, as far as our facilities, that's one of their biggest gripes is not consistent Wi-Fi connectivity. More fine arts, the auditorium, lights, we need completely new lights there. When we have events there and we turn on the lights that are functioning right now, it's still very dark. We don't have a fly system. Fine arts director, Mrs. Loya, gave me that one, and she explained to me what a fly system is. Ms. Loya, what is a fly system?
Currently, Memorial is the only one to have a fly system, and it's the ropes or the pulleys that will bring down the lights and also any props or sight curtains. It's very useful in theater. It can also be used for lots of presentations and across the board for all groups.
Our locker rooms, one more, our locker rooms could use a refresh. I know that our boosters do a great job in trying to keep up, but the size and some of the condition of our locker rooms needs improvement. And I believe we have a new AC system at Rowe, one of the newer AC systems, maybe in 2020, 21. But we still have AC system inconsistency, like today, blazing hot at Rowe. And I know we fielded a lot of calls from parents today because of the AC system.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that came up that it was finally mentioned is LED lights across the district. We are antiquated with our lights. And so we need to consider also, Ms. Sparks and everyone, that every campus, every department should be with LED lights because we do not have LED lights. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because we have the oldest lights than practically anyone else. Through LED lights, we could say it would pay itself over the years because of the savings that we would do. So if there's one thing that when you said lights is that we need LED lights across the district at every campus, at every department, and it would be a tremendous savings and better lighting for our kids to learn better by having the nicer lights throughout the district. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to De Leon, because De Leon, Mr. Alanis, I already covered the entrance, but if you want to say a little bit more about that, because they do have a very weird entrance at De Leon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So Ignacio Alanis Jr., principal at De Leon Middle School, and we are blessed with a beautiful campus. Although it's 34 years young, it is beautiful, but not without its needs. And I do want to just mention also that Mr. Trevino and his team do great work, ¿verdad? And they're very attentive to everything that we need. So thank you for that. But with regards to the entrance, absolutely. So as you come into the parking lot, which is on the south side of the campus, you'll notice that we don't have an awning. We don't have cover for our students. And we're the only middle school amongst the 6 that don't have that. So I'd like to get an awning installed, but the last quote I got was for $31,000. And as much as I try to fundraise, I might be able to get that much, but I couldn't dedicate all of that to just that one project.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, and so that awning for cover, for our students from the elements. And as we walk into the campus, you'll walk into what used to be a teacher workroom for the 6th grade teachers. And so that workroom has been turned into a reception area. So once you check in, you come through a narrow hallway, very narrow hallway, with 2 restrooms, a male and female restrooms on your left. And so we've got staff in there taking care of personal business while we're, bringing in families or other, important guests through, and it makes for very awkward meetings sometimes. And so that leads into our main hallway on campus, which that door opens up into our male and female student restrooms. So it's not a great for optics, right? And then we have to take a left and go on into our main office. So yeah, the awning and the reception area that leads into the campus. Doorways, we have 3 beautiful courtyards that we try to maintain and keep as gorgeous as we can. But when we do get those deluges, that heavy rain, we do get seepage of water into each one of those hallways through the those I guess the doors that lead out into the courtyards, and that's possibly due to maybe the offsetting of, I don't know, I'm not a construction individual, but it's off. So I guess doorways need to be reset, and that's in every one of our courtyards. With regards to athletics, so we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to say 4 athletic fields that surround us on the north, south, and west of the campus, but we share those with the city of McAllen. And it is a continual challenge for us to share those fields, because it's not just with soccer, it'd be with football. And we have tournaments while we are trying to have events, and we have to share, those fields and those parking spaces. And we've had where staff cannot leave our parking lot because, we're double parked and we cannot leave. And so we call the city and have those conversations. So practice fields. With that being said, throwing pits, jumping pits, and a track. Okay, we need that on our campus. And I know I speak for our sister school, Fossil Middle School. That they need those items too. And unlike us, they need AD accessibility to those fields. Our West Drive, also full of potholes, so they're unintentional speed humps, so you're forced to slow down back there on the west side, and so it causes a lot of flooding. So like I said, we do access those fields on the west side for our PE and athletics kiddos, and we can't get across that drive because it is full of water. And fine arts could use some refresh in the band, choir, and orchestra, of course. Theater practices in a hallway or moves into the cafeteria. They need a refresh there too. And I believe that's it.
Can I ask a question? The fields that you spoke of, the 4 fields, they're district owned and it's a joint use agreement with the city, or are they city owned and the other way?
It's a joint agreement with the city and the district.
Okay, but the property actually is district owned, correct?
If I recall, yes, because it's been, those of you that have been, guys, you all help me that have been here longer than I have. Are they city owned or district owned? District owned, okay.
Right.
The city with the back in the Larry press release, we offered the property so the city would provide the big drainage pits.
Mm-hmm.
That they were supposed to give the district all the amenities, all the parking. All they do is just maintain the parks. That was the MOU agreement.
Okay.
So whenever the district needs their property, that was paramount. If it's changed, you need to look at that.
Okay, well, maybe I can later request a copy of the MOU so we can see how that functions and work with that.
All right. Now, some elementary school principals are here from this feeder. Any one of our elementary schools wants to, Alvarez is here.
Alvarez?
Good afternoon, Melissa Lara, campus principal at Alvarez. My campus was built in 1959, so many of the updates that we're currently dealing with is the age of the campus. We talked about them already: roofing leaks, ongoing repairs to the roof every time that it rains. We talked about the actual walkways. We're looking at the level of the walkway in addition to the covering of the walkway. Every time that it rains, you wind up with kiddos walking through rain because we do have exterior cafeterias and exterior gyms. So unattached, detached. Covered walkways, yes. So we have some sunroofs right now because they're needing attention. But drainage is an issue because of the rain. It just carries over on those issues. The cafeteria was due for an update recently, and it was put on hold. So the cafeteria does need a refresh. It's detached, but even the roof, you walk in there, it was probably built in 1959. So it needs a refresh. And then a playground, the playscape hasn't been updated in many, many years. That's something that needs to be updated for our kiddos. Mm-hmm. And then lighting. I agree with the other campuses. The lighting is just dim throughout in classrooms and in hallways.
One more elementary principal? Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Joanne Silva. I am actually a parent to a child at McAuliffe Elementary. And these are just a couple of things that I have seen as a parent. And the first one is we are lucky to have a decent gym, but I am actually afraid that some of the tiles will fall. I do feel that it really needs to be looked at. We do also, or I have seen a couple of the floor tiles pop up a little bit where some of the students have tripped. I am part of the PTO committee, so I am there at certain times during the day, and I've seen when the students are coming back from lunch where they trip on these tile floors. Restrooms, again, I've had to use both the staff restrooms and the kids' restrooms, and they are due for an update. There have been quite a bit of maintenance requests while I have been there, and their library is extremely small, in my opinion. But I do think that maybe they should have a little bit of a bigger library. And McAuliffe has, your extra sports, like they have a basketball team and a soccer team, and the coaches don't have a place to store the equipment. So they are being stored everywhere. I've seen them. Storage. And then going back to the gym, the other thing that I did realize, we had an event this past Friday that was put on by the PTO, and although the gymnasium is big, it was the AC. It was just extremely hot. It was literally like dripping sweat, and so there was a lot of complaints provided to PTO from the parents about the AC. And this is an event that we've had for a few years now, and so we've had it for the past 2 years. In reference to the AC, and that they're really not enough, I guess, for the gym. And then this is more on, I guess, on a personal level. While I have been there, I have no cell phone reception. I am not able to call into work, or if I'm running late or whatever it might be, I cannot. I am not able to make a phone call. So again, I don't know how that works, right? But that is just more of something that I've seen. And then some of the classrooms do have, and I think because I am a McAllen graduate, I did go to Alvarez, and I did go to Rayburn for 5th grade. I went to Morris. I went to Nicky Rowe. The first year was a 9th grade center, and I graduated from McAllen. So I'm familiar with a lot of the buildings. It's important. I mean, I'm glad that this is able to happen. I hope it happens. I hope we can educate everybody. But McAuliffe, and I think Rayburn had it, where you have those partitions, but the partitions don't work. And so the teachers hear exactly what the other classroom is saying, and it's a very big distraction. Yeah. So those are little things that I've noticed.
Are they operable wall partitions?
Yeah, I think there are some elementary schools that have a partition instead of a solid wall. We can look into those and include about putting a solid wall and separating the two classrooms to have more privacy, because the noise carries over between classrooms. Mm-hmm. So that's. So, yeah, so you get the idea now as we go, because I know I'm looking at time, but I think we covered a lot. I think we already covered over 290 million, by the way. But just talking about, we're just talking, right? We're just putting out a wish list, but everything that everybody covered, we're gonna see a lot of common issues across the board with elementary schools, with middle schools, and high schools. But I think we've already covered a lot of the bigger items, and when we go and make those visits by vertical team, you're gonna see those things to make note of. She got good notes now because she got good feedback from all of us, but I think what we covered already in this discussion has been covered pretty much across the board, and we'll see it in some schools, and in others we won't see it, but we'll make note of that, and then that way we can start formulating a priority list of the things that we need to do. I'm gonna go ahead and have you finish quickly, because it's almost 7 o'clock, and then Dr. De Los Santos has a quick update on House Bill 19, and we'll close up. I'm trying to keep things at an hour, no more than an hour and a half. So we got about 14 minutes, so we can do it before then.
Yeah,
before
I'll
that?
be quick. I'll be very quick.
Ms. Loya, can you do it in 2-3 minutes? Come over here. On the fine arts, perhaps what we need is a fine arts building, right? Something like that?
Actually, hi, I'm Miss Loya, right, Fine Arts Director, but one of the biggest things about McAllen ISD is that our region utilizes us for everything. So we host choir, we host band, we host theater, we host all types of activities because we can only host it at Mac High. No other place has that. In order to best probably meet the needs for the district, we would probably need a central location in order to be able to host and also to have our feeder schools experience a nice performance area. That's number one. Number two, all of my band hall areas in all of McAllen ISD is overcrowded. We currently have our mariachis in separate areas. We have Mac High in a little itty bitty portable. We have the other two schools using large ensemble rooms, which are really the size of a small office. And so that's burdening for them. And it's very hard for them to compete in that kind of performance area, yet they still do. In addition to that, we also need area in the band hall areas because those programs are outside of the band hall. So in order to get everybody, we've outgrown that space. In order to get everybody in there, we need to have adequate classrooms in that band hall area for all of our directors. But in order for it to be efficient, we must have practice rooms, we must have large ensemble rooms, small ensemble rooms, and we must be able to have some office areas for our staff whenever they need to address students for individual needs. In addition to that, right now our practice rooms are utilized as their office areas and as storage. Where does that leave our kids to practice? In the hallways. And so in addition to that, I know we talked about theater and everything like that, but there's a lot of needs in fine arts, yet our kids are still producing ultimate and wonderful accomplishments. Thank you.
But we could give them some of the more space because we've outgrown a lot of this. You know, they were built years and years ago and programs have grown, more programs have been added. And, you know, that's why we perhaps need to look at more space for fine arts. One last question. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
All right.
Ma'am, go ahead.
Very briefly, yeah, very briefly. Thank you, everyone. This has been extremely helpful. I have taken a lot of notes, but I've also taken note of reoccurring conditions, and I'm going to be sharing that with my team in the morning before we start our assessments. Special things to pay attention to. Do they have an awning in front of the school? Do you have, so I've taken notes of that, and I will provide them each with a list of things to pay a little closer attention to. We will be discussing more with our fine arts director. We had a preliminary discussion, and we intend to talk some more about what does a mariachi room look like, what does that need, and then build out from that. And the last thing I have is that I intend to have a summary, a brief summary for each school of not only the things we find, but the things you've discussed to have and to hold when you do the walkthroughs. So that way you at least have what we're seeing, and you can walk through and add or revise and, work from that too. So that's all I have, and we're excited to get out there and meet you this week.
Okay, good feedback. Just one last thing, just to give you an announcement, an update on House Bill 19. Dr. Los Santos from Estrada Hinojosa.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys again. With me is Jose Silva from our firm, Estrada Hinojosa. Just a real brief update. The reason this thing started moving so fast, and we're here 2 weeks after having met with the school board, is because of the pressure that is being put on by the legislature to have elections only in November. That particular item was in House Bill 19. Last week, House Bill 19 died in committee at the legislature. However, there is still the possibility that some of the provisions of House Bill 19 may be added to other bills. That happens in the legislature all the time. You end up with an education item on a health bill or whatever. Those are the possibilities. Our people in our bond attorney, actually, Matt Lee and Josh Haney from O'Casey, have told us that by next week on the 23rd, the Senate accepts the bills that they're going to accept, that they're going to look at. And so by the 23rd, we should have a real good indication, next Friday, real good indication on whether there will be pressure to move in November. But we're still being cautious and saying the legislative session is over June the 2nd, so it's 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, it's over. Whatever was going to be passed is passed, and whatever not. We're hopeful that the November-only election time provision is thrown out the window, and that this board and other boards that we're working with have an opportunity to plan not only for facilities, but for financial options also through May, which would something that administration and us have been discussing for a long time, and then House Bill 19 hit us, and we were pressured to come before the board and before you guys. So that's what we're looking for with House Bill 19, that it not be added to or that it not be approved in another bill, and that districts be allowed a little bit more time to move forward. I would advise, if that happens, that this group continues to meet throughout, even if the election were to be called for May. The other is, there is House Bill 2 and Senate Bill 2. Those are the general provision bills. That's where teacher salaries are, that's where transportation is, that's where funds for curriculum instruction are, and so on. And those are the two bills that are, in the forefront right now. In the end, they will also, by June the 2nd, we'll know what happened. The only point that I want to make with that is that House Bill 2 will bring, Dr. Gutierrez will bring, as you know, a lot of unfunded mandates. They'll say, okay, we're going to give you $100 million, but 75 million have to be for X. The other 25 million you can use any way you want. So you end up with, they're dictating, $5,000, $10,000 increases for teachers, but nothing for the fringe benefits that teachers get, such as insurance and TRS funding and so on and so forth. And also puts the pressures on districts to hire or to give raises to other departments, maintenance and teacher aides and administrators and supervisors, and those all have to come out of the general fund balance generally, or whatever pot you have, so guard your fund balance, okay? That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So our next meeting would definitely be sometime after June the 2nd, because June 2nd is when the legislative session closes, and then we'll have affirmative results that House Bill 19 has completely died and that we don't have to go into a November election, it will go into May. So we will be in touch with you through emails from our offices, McAllen ISD offices, that we will be meeting, for sure it'll be after June 2nd, so that way we already come with a final decision on House Bill 19, and also MGT would have done most of the work, if not all the work by that time, and then we'll review those reports and then start setting the vertical teams so that we can have the rest of the months that remain to go make those visits and at all the schools and do our own study along with the report that we're going to get from MGT. Okay? So thank you all. You've been a great audience, and I hope this was productive and we had some good discussions and good ideas that we need to consider moving forward. Thank you all. We need to adjourn, so let me turn it over to our president.
6:58 p.m. Thank you all.